IKEA is not one company. It only looks like one. And once you understand that, you start to see where your money really goes. In a completely different way. There is a second journey. You never see it. You never feel it. But every time you walk out of an IKEA store, it begins. You leave the building. Your car is full. Flat boxes. A lamp. Maybe more than you planned. You drive home satisfied. You think the experience is over. It isn't. Because while you were walking through the store, something else was moving. Quietly. Precisely. Out of sight. Money. Your money. And it did not stop at the checkout. It did not stay in the store. It did not even stay in your country. It followed a path. A path designed long before you arrived. A path so structured, so carefully engineered, that even when you understand it, you still cannot fully see all of it at once. In the last video, you walked the path inside the store. Tonight, we follow the path your money takes after you leave. When you walked through IKEA, you were on a visible path. The long natural way. One direction. One experience. Designed to guide you from entrance to checkout. But at the same time, there was another path running alongside it. Invisible. Structural. Financial. To understand that path, you have to understand something most people never realize. IKEA is not one company. It only looks like one. Most people never question this. You walk into a store, you see one name, one logo, one experience. So your brain simplifies it. One company. But that assumption is exactly what makes the system work. Because what looks simple on the surface is often deliberately complex underneath. Think of it like this. Imagine walking into a restaurant. You order food. You pay the bill. You assume the money goes to the same business that served you. But in reality, the building is owned by one entity. The brand name is owned by another. And the operations are run by a third. You are not paying one business. You are feeding a structure. That is how IKEA is built. In reality, it is split. Not loosely. Not informally. But deliberately. On one side, there is what you experienced. The stores. The trolleys. The showrooms. The restaurant. Everything physical. Everything visible. This part is operated by the IKEA group. They run the stores. They hire the staff. They collect your payment. But they do not own IKEA. On the other side, there is something else entirely. The name. The concept. The product identity. The system itself. That is controlled by a separate entity. IKEA systems. And here is the critical point. The stores are not the brand. They are licensed to use it. Which means every IKEA store in the world pays a percentage of its revenue. Not profit. Revenue. To IKEA. That payment is not optional. It is not occasional. It is continuous. And the moment you understand that, the second path begins to reveal itself. Let's slow this down. Because this is where most people lose the thread. You buy a product. That payment enters the store. From there, it is divided. Operational costs. Staff. Logistics. Inventory. And then, quietly, a portion leaves. Not as profit. As a fee. A royalty. A cost of using the IKEA name. This is the first movement on the hidden path. And it happens every time. Let's make this real. You walk into IKEA and spend $100. To you, it feels simple. A transaction. But inside the system, that $100 begins to split almost immediately. A portion stays behind. To run the store. To pay salaries. To keep the lights on. But another portion moves. Not because the store chooses to send it, but because it is required to. A fixed percentage. Taken from revenue, not profit. Which means it moves whether the store is doing well or not. Now multiply that. Not by one customer, but by millions. Across countries. Across continents. Every single day. A constant flow. Moving in the same direction. Out of the store. Into the structure. And here is what makes this powerful. The customer never sees it. The receipt does not show it. The experience does not reveal it. But it happens. Every time. Quietly building something much larger than a single purchase. If you follow that flow far enough, you arrive somewhere unexpected. Not a corporate headquarters. Not a traditional parent company. A foundation. Its name is the Stichting IKEA Foundation. On paper, it is a charity. A non-profit. An organization established for public benefit. That is what it is called. Now pause here. Because the word foundation changes how people think. When you hear charity, you imagine donations. You imagine money flowing outward. Helping causes. Supporting communities. And that does happen. But a foundation like this can also do something else. It can hold ownership. It can control assets. It can sit at the top of a structure and decide how value moves beneath it. So instead of money flowing out, it can also remain inside. Protected. Accumulating. Growing over time. Legally. Quietly. And when a structure like that controls a global retail system, the scale becomes enormous. Not visible in stores. Not visible in products. But embedded in ownership. This foundation sits at the top of the structure. It owns the entity that operates the stores. Which means, ultimately, it controls the flow of profit generated by one of the largest retail systems in the world. And here is where the path becomes difficult to ignore. The foundation holds assets worth tens of billions of dollars. Not revenue. Assets. Stored. Protected. Accumulated. Amounts comparable to some of the largest charitable organizations on earth. But the proportion of that wealth that leaves the system, the amount that actually flows outward into charitable impact, is small, carefully limited, legally compliant, structurally intentional. So the path does not end there. It pauses. Now we move into the part that is rarely seen clearly, because it does not exist in one place. It exists across several. The money does not simply sit. It moves. Between entities. Across jurisdictions. Through environments designed to facilitate exactly this kind of movement. Places like Luxembourg. Now this is where things become less familiar. Because most people do not think about where money goes after it leaves a company. They think in straight lines. Customer to business. Business to profit. End of story. But global systems do not work like that. They move through environments designed for flexibility. Places where financial structures are not just allowed, but optimized. Luxembourg is one of those places. Not because it hides money, but because it allows companies to organize it efficiently. Different rules. Different incentives. Different possibilities. So money does not just move randomly. It moves with intention. Through channels designed to reduce friction, to preserve value, to maintain control across borders. And once you see that, you realize something important. The system is not reacting. It is operating exactly as designed. Each entity has a role. Each location has a function. Each transfer has a reason. And when you step back, what you see is not a company moving money. You see a system, routing it. Almost like a network, where nothing is wasted. Nothing is accidental. Everything has a direction. Most global companies build structures like this over time. They expand. They adapt. They respond to regulation as it evolves. IKEA did something different. It built its structure early, before modern transparency standards, before global tax coordination, before governments fully understood how these systems would scale, which creates an advantage that is almost invisible if you are not looking for it. Because once a structure like this is in place, it does not need to be rebuilt. It only needs to be maintained, adjusted slightly, reinforced legally, protected over time. And that creates stability, not just for the business, but for the system behind it. The structure was not shaped by the rules. The rules were written around structures like this, after they already existed. And once something like that is in place, deeply embedded, legally reinforced across countries, it becomes incredibly difficult to unwind. Not because it is hidden, but because it is valid, recognized, accepted, protected by the same systems that would have to challenge it. And that is a very different kind of power. Not loud, not visible, but extremely effective. At this point, the mechanics are clear. The path exists. The structure works. The system is stable. So the question is not how it functions. The question is what it means. Because this is where the conversation shifts. Away from mechanics. Into impact. When a system like this operates at global scale, it interacts with real economies, real workers, real societies. It benefits from roads, from infrastructure, from legal protection, from markets built by millions of people. And yet, it is also designed to minimize what flows back. Not illegally, not secretly, but efficiently. And that creates a tension. Not a simple right or wrong, but a question. What is the responsibility of a system like this? And who gets to answer that question? The company? Governments? Consumers? Or no one at all? Because the system will continue regardless. That is the part that makes it difficult. Once it is built, once it is functioning, it does not stop to ask permission. It simply operates. And once you understand that, you begin to see similar patterns in other companies, other industries, other systems that feel simple on the surface, but are far more complex underneath. There is one final shift, and it is the most important one. This system no longer depends on a human being, not on a founder, not on a single leader, not on a personality. When Ingvar Kamprad died in 2018, this structure did not pause. It did not reset. It did not slow down. It continued. Because it was never built to depend on him. It was built to continue. Indefinitely. And that is a different level of thinking. Most businesses are built around people. Their decisions. Their vision. Their presence. Remove the person, and the business changes. Sometimes it weakens. Sometimes it collapses. But this is not that kind of system. This is something else. Something designed to operate beyond a single lifetime. A structure that can be managed, but does not need to be reinvented. And that is the difference between a business and a system. A business can fail. A system can persist. And this one was designed to do exactly that. In the first video, you walked through a store. You saw how your behavior was shaped, how your decisions were guided, how your experience was designed. In this video, you walked a different path, the one your money takes. Two journeys, happening at the same time. One you experience, one you never see. One shapes what you buy, the other shapes where that value ultimately goes. And together, they form something far more powerful than a retail brand. A complete system. A system that does not begin when you enter the store, and does not end when you leave. It continues. Quietly. Consistently. Across countries, across time, across millions of people who never realize they are part of it. And now that you've seen both paths, the one you walk, and the one your money takes, the question is no longer just how the system works. The question is, how something like this is even possible. Because systems like this do not happen by accident. They are designed. Every structure, every decision, every layer built with intention. And that leads to something deeper. What kind of mind builds something like this? A system that shapes behavior, moves money across countries, and continues, even after the person who created it is gone. Was it just intelligence? Or was it discipline? A way of thinking, formed long before the company ever existed? Because behind every system this precise, there is a person who saw the world differently. Someone who did not just build a business, but built a way for that business to survive, to adapt, to outlive them. And sometimes, the most important part of the story is not the system itself, but the person behind it. Because if you understand the person, you begin to understand everything else. In the final part, we look at the man behind IKEA. Not just what he built, but how he thought, what he believed, and the contradictions that do not fit neatly into the story you've been told. And once you see that, you don't just understand IKEA differently. You understand systems like this everywhere. This is Empire Deep Dive. There is always another layer. I will see you in the final part.